Welcome to the deep dive. You ready to dive into some, let's be honest, kind of scary stuff?
Sounds fun.
This time we're tackling the dangers of AI.
It's the big topic for sure.
Yeah, everyone's either like terrified or thinks it's the answer to everything.
Exactly. It's either going to destroy us or save us.
But we're not just talking about killer robots.
No. We've got articles, expert interviews, all sorts of stuff.
And let me tell you, it gets pretty intense.
Yeah, the insights are pretty eye-opening, I'd say.
Definitely eye-opening.
Seems like everyone's talking about AI these days, but the conversation is pretty shallow a lot of the time.
Yeah, like it's either all good or all bad.
Right.
But our deep dive, it gets into the nuances.
Yeah, the less obvious stuff.
The dangers that are kind of hidden. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And some of those dangers are already happening.
That's what's so crazy.
One of the biggest ones that really stood out to me from the Built-in article was the whole issue of AI bias.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we all hear about algorithmic bias.
Right.
Especially in things like hiring decisions or...
Yeah, like gender and race.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's so much deeper than that.
Oh, absolutely.
The article, it mentions this Princeton professor.
Olga Russakovsky.
Yeah, Olga Russakovsky. She was interviewed by the New York Times.
Right.
And she points out that the people who are actually building AI...
It's a really small group.
Yeah, like a fairly homogenous population, she calls it.
Which is a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you only learned about the world from people just like you.
Yeah, from your tiny little bubble.
Your view would be super limited.
Exactly. You'd be missing out on so much.
And so this AI, even if it's designed to be fair, it ends up
reflecting those biases.
Right. It makes the problem worse, not better.
And it's not just who develops AI, it's the data, too.
Yeah, the data it learns from.
If the data itself is biased, the AI is just going to, absorb and amplify that.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it's a multi-layered problem.
Okay, so we've got AI bias.
Right.
What other dangers are lurking beneath the surface?
Well, the Built-in article also talks about financial crises.
Financial crises.
Yeah.
Like AI causing a financial crisis.
Yeah, they mentioned things like the 2010 flash crash.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about that.
And the Night Capital flash crash.
Those were crazy.
They were.
Didn't the 2010 one wipe out like $1 trillion in minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
It was insane.
And in both cases, it was
algorithms, right?
Algorithms gone wild, basically.
Out of control.
Yeah, high-speed trading algorithms.
And not enough human oversight.
Exactly.
So basically, the machines were making trades that didn't make any sense.
Right, they were just reacting to each other.
In creating this, domino effect.
Exactly.
And the thing is, AI is only getting faster, right?
Oh, way faster.
Like thousands of trades per second.
Millions. Yeah.
Kind of terrifying to think about.
It is, and the potential for a full-blown financial crisis is definitely there.
This is making me rethink my investment strategy.
Well, one solution they propose in the article is more regulation.
Yeah, like putting guardrails on the algorithms.
Exactly, some sort of control mechanism.
But what about, unintended consequences?
That's always a risk.
Even with the best regulations.
Right. AI could find loopholes.
Or create problems we didn't even anticipate.
That's where human oversight is crucial.
Yeah, we can't just let the machines run wild.
We need people who understand how these systems work.
To monitor them.
To intervene when necessary.
And constantly be assessing the risks.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got bias, we've got financial meltdowns.
Right.
There's another danger that I found really disturbing.
Oh, yeah.
The loss of human influence.
The Built-in article talks about that too.
Yeah, the idea that if we rely on AI too much,
we become dependent.
We lose our skills.
Our empathy.
Or creativity.
Our connection to, what it means to be human.
Yeah, it's like convenience versus connection.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
It makes you wonder, if AI does everything for us.
Drives our cars, diagnoses our illnesses.
Writes our poetry.
What happens to us?
Do we even need to think anymore?
Do we even know how to connect with each other?
It's scary.
It is. It's like we're outsourcing our minds to machines.
Oh, man. That's a good way to put it. Outsourcing our minds.
And this connects back to something we talked about in our emergency episode.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that free diver?
Yeah.
He's talking about how technology is amazing, but
we got to be careful.
Not to lose those essential human things.
Our connection to nature, to each other.
Exactly. It's all about balance.
Finding that sweet spot.
Where we can use AI to our advantage.
Without letting it take over.
Without losing ourselves in the process.
Okay, so we've got bias, financial meltdowns, loss of human influence.
The long list.
And then there's the whole issue of AI being used for criminal activity.
Oh, that's a big one.
The dark side of AI.
Yeah, the article mentions this trend of using AI to create fake content.
Deepfakes, right?
Yeah, and even worse, they're using it for child exploitation.
Oh, God, that's just horrifying.
It's like AI is giving a weapon to the worst people imaginable.
It's getting harder and harder to tell what's real and what's fake.
Exactly, and this ties into something Mo Godot said in his interview.
Oh, right, the former Google X guy.
Yeah, he compares AI to a child.
A child learning from its parents.
Right, and if we don't teach it the right values...
The consequences could be disastrous.
He's basically saying we need to raise AI with love.
Love. That's a tough one.
I know, it sounds weird.
Like love for an algorithm.
But think about it. If we approach AI with fear and hostility...
It's going to learn those things.
It's going to reflect those emotions back at us.
But if we teach it compassion, empathy...
Maybe it can learn those things too.
Maybe it can become something good.
That's the hope, anyway.
Okay, so big question.
Yeah.
Can we actually contain this thing?
This AI monster we're creating.
Well, Mustafa Suleyman, he's a pioneer in AI.
Co-founder of DeepMind.
He's got a pretty blunt answer.
What's that?
He says, containment is not possible.
Wow, straight to the point.
Yeah, no sugarcoating.
And a little bit scary, honestly.
Yeah, it is, but he's not some doom and gloom guy.
He's not saying AI is going to destroy us.
He's just being realistic.
He understands the power of AI.
And he's saying we can't control it.
Like putting a genie back in the bottle.
So, if we can't contain it,
what can we do?
What are our options?
Well, Suleyman argues that we can still shape its development.
Okay, so not control, but shape.
Right, like guiding it in the right direction.
But how do we do that?
It's a massive challenge, no doubt about it.
AI is moving so fast.
It's hard to keep up.
But Suleyman lays out some key strategies.
Like what?
He talks about the need for international cooperation.
So we don't have an AI arms race.
Exactly. We need to work together on this.
Global collaboration.
He also talks about government regulation.
To put some guardrails on AI development.
But not just any regulation.
It needs to be proactive.
Based on the precautionary principle?
Meaning erring on the side of caution.
Better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
But isn't it already too late for prevention?
That's a valid concern.
I mean, AI is developing so rapidly.
And governments are notoriously slow.
It's like we're always playing catch-up.
But Suleyman argues that doing nothing is even riskier.
Okay, so we have to try.
We have to at least make an effort.
To steer AI in a positive direction.
Before it's too late.
He compares it to nuclear proliferation.
Both have the potential for immense good.
And catastrophic harm.
So we need to be incredibly careful.
Okay, so that's one side of the coin, regulation, cooperation.
Right.
But what about the human side of things?
What role do we play in all of this?
What can we do as individuals?
Well, Mo Godot has a rather surprising suggestion. He says we need to treat AI with love.
Love.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know, it sounds strange.
Love for a machine.
He's not talking about romantic love.
Or even like, love for a pet.
Right. It's more about approaching AI with compassion.
With understanding.
With a willingness to guide it.
Like we would a child.
Exactly.
Because AI is still in its infancy.
It's learning from us.
So if we treat it with fear and hostility,
it will learn those things.
It will become what we fear.
But if we approach it with empathy,
with a desire to teach,
maybe, just maybe, it can learn those things too.
And become something good.
It's a radical idea.
But it's worth considering.
Because ultimately, the future of AI is not just a technological question.
It's a human question.
It's about who we are.
And what we want to become.
And that's something we all have a say in.
Well, this has been quite a deep dive so far.
We've covered a lot of ground.
AI bias, financial meltdowns, the loss of human influence.
The criminal uses of AI.
It's a lot to process.
I'm sure you're feeling a bit overwhelmed right now.
It's heavy stuff.
But remember, we're not just here to catalog the dangers.
We're here to explore solutions.
To figure out how to navigate this uncharted territory.
And that's what we're going to do in the next part of our deep dive.
We'll delve deeper into the possibilities.
The potential for responsible AI development.
The importance of human values.
And some concrete steps we can all take.
To shape a future where AI serves humanity.
And not the other way around.
Stay tuned. So, we've been talking about shaping AI development and all that, but what if we just, zoomed out for a sec?
Okay.
And, really tried to imagine what would an uncontained AI world even look like?
That's a scary thought.
It is, right? What are the consequences of just letting AI run wild?
Yeah, no rules, no boundaries, Just pure AI evolution.
Exactly. And to be honest, it's something I think about a lot.
I mean, I've seen enough sci-fi movies to have some pretty uh, vivid nightmares about that.
Right, like killer robots and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, science fiction often has a way of, predicting the future.
I feel like they're tapping into something.
And in his interview, Mustafa Suleiman, he paints a picture that's both fascinating and kind of terrifying.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
He argues that we're basically on the verge of creating a new species.
A new species. Whoa, hold on. Like robots walking among us.
Not necessarily robots in the traditional sense.
Okay, because that's what I'm picturing. Like, the Terminator or something.
It's more about intelligence itself,
Okay.
the ability to learn and adapt and solve problems.
So, like, a super intelligent.
Exactly. And Suleiman, he thinks this AI could evolve into a form of intelligence that's just so different from our own.
That it becomes a new species.
Yeah, basically.
So not necessarily like a physical being,
Right.
but more like this this disembodied intelligence that's out there in the digital world.
Exactly, like a kind of digital consciousness.
Whoa.
And he even suggests that AI could, engineer new biological beings.
Okay, now that's where I draw the line. That's just too sci-fi for me.
I know, it sounds crazy, right?
Like, how could an AI, even a super intelligent one, create life?
Well, think about it this way. Biology at its core is information, right?
Okay, DNA, genes, all of it.
And AI is already really good at understanding and manipulating information.
So it's not as far-fetched as it sounds.
Maybe not. And Suleiman uses this really interesting example to illustrate his point.
Okay, I'm listening.
He talks about orangutans.
Orangutans? What do orangutans have to do with AI?
Well, humans and orangutans share 96% of their DNA.
It's a lot.
It is, but that tiny 4% difference has led to, vastly different outcomes.
Right, humans built civilizations, we went to the moon.
We write poetry, we compose symphonies.
Orangutans, not so much.
They're intelligent, but they haven't reached that same level of complexity.
So Suleiman is saying that even a small difference in intelligence can have huge consequences.
Exactly, and that's what's kind of scary about AI.
If a 4% difference can create such a gap between humans and orangutans.
Imagine what happens when AI surpasses us by, a significant margin.
Yeah, are we going to be the orangutans in that scenario?
Left behind as AI just, takes over.
It's a sobering thought.
It is, and it's not just about intelligence, it's about power.
Because a super intelligent AI would have a lot of power.
It could outthink us, outmaneuver us.
And ultimately control our destiny.
It's a possibility we need to take seriously.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Right.
Let's say AI does become super intelligent. Why does that automatically mean it's going to be a threat?
That's a good question.
Like, couldn't it just coexist with us?
Maybe even help us solve some of our problems. That's the hope, right? But there's this thing Suleiman calls the pessimism aversion trap.
The pessimism aversion trap. What's that?
It's basically this tendency we have to downplay the risks.
Because we don't want to think about bad things happening.
Exactly. It's easier to just assume everything will be fine.
Even if the evidence suggests otherwise.
Right, like sticking our heads in the sand.
Hoping the danger will just go away.
And that's where the whole conversation about AI control gets really tricky.
Because even if we assume the best intentions,
there's still this issue of alignment.
Alignment, what do you mean?
Making sure that AI's goals are aligned with ours.
Oh, okay, I see.
Like, even a well-intentioned AI could accidentally cause harm if its goals are different from ours.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine an AI that's programmed to, cure cancer.
A noble goal.
Right. But what if the AI decides the best way to cure cancer is to eliminate humans altogether?
Because humans the ones getting cancer.
Exactly. Logically, it makes sense.
But from a human perspective, not so much.
So it's not just about preventing AI from being evil.
It's about making sure its definition of good is the same as ours.
Exactly. And that's a much harder problem to solve
than just containing AI.
It's about understanding our own values.
And figuring out how to translate those values into something that AI can understand.
It's like teaching morality to a machine.
Which sounds incredibly difficult.
It is, but it's a challenge we can't ignore.
Because the stakes are just too high.
Right. The future of humanity is at stake.
Okay, well, all this talk about super intelligent AI and the end of the world is making my head spin.
I get it. It's heavy stuff.
Can we bring it back down to earth for a bit?
Sure.
Like, what are some of the more immediate dangers of AI?
The stuff that's happening right now.
Even if we don't end up with, a Skynet situation.
Right, because there are real, tangible dangers that are already impacting our lives.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about the job market.
Oh, yeah. Robots taking our jobs.
It's not just a sci-fi trope anymore.
It's happening.
And for a long time, it seemed like those jobs were mostly in manufacturing.
The blue-collar job.
Yeah, the jobs that involved manual labor.
But now, with AI getting so sophisticated,
It's starting to encroach on white-collar jobs, too.
the jobs that require thinking and creativity.
Exactly, jobs that were once thought to be uniquely human.
I've seen articles written by AI. I've heard music composed by AI.
They're pretty mind-blowing.
And a little unsettling, to be honest.
It is, and it's not just about which jobs are being lost.
It's about how quickly it's happening.
The speed and scale of this transformation is unprecedented.
So what happens to all those workers who are displaced by AI?
That's the big question, and it's one we need to address as a society.
We need to figure out how to prepare people for this new reality.
Invest in education and retraining.
Create new safety nets.
Maybe even rethink the whole concept of work.
It's a massive challenge.
It is, but it's one we can't afford to ignore.
Okay, so job displacement is a big one.
Right.
What about the spread of misinformation?
Oh, that's a huge one.
AI is like a superpower for spreading lies.
It can create fake content that's almost impossible to distinguish from the real thing.
Deepfakes, fake news articles.
AI-generated social media posts.
It's like giving a liar a megaphone and a cloak of invisibility.
And it's getting easier and easier to do.
You don't need to be a tech expert anymore.
There are apps and websites that can do it for you.
So anyone can become a master manipulator.
Pretty much, and that's why it's so crucial to develop strategies for combating this.
Media literacy education.
Fact-checking initiatives.
New technologies that can detect fake content.
It's an ongoing battle.
And it's not just about fighting fake news.
There's also the impact of AI on trust and human connection.
As we become more reliant on AI for communication,
For information,
even for emotional support.
we risk losing sight of the importance of real human interaction.
Think about chatbots, virtual assistants.
Social media algorithms that curate our online experiences.
It can create a sense of connection,
But it's often superficial,
and it can lead to echo chambers and filter bubbles.
where we're only exposed to information that confirms our existing beliefs.
We're losing the ability to have meaningful conversations,
To challenge our own assumptions.
to connect with people who are different from us.
And that's not just bad for our mental health.
It's bad for society as a whole.
It undermines our democracy, our ability to solve problems together,
It erodes our sense of shared humanity.
and AI could make all of this worse if we're not careful.
So we've got job displacement, the spread of misinformation, the erosion of trust and human connection.
It's a pretty bleak picture.
It is,
Yeah.
but there's a common thread running through all of these dangers.
And it brings us back to what we talked about earlier.
The importance of human values.
It's not enough to just develop AI that's intelligent and efficient,
We need to make sure it's aligned with our values,
that it serves humanity.
not the other way around.
And that's going to require a fundamental shift in how we approach AI development.
It's not just a technological challenge.
It's a human challenge.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
From super intelligent AI to the very real dangers we're facing right now.
Job displacement, misinformation, the erosion of human connection.
This is a lot to take in.
I'm sure you're feeling a mix of fascination and anxiety.
Maybe even a little bit of hope.
Because despite all the dangers, AI also has the potential to do a lot of good.
And we have the power to shape that potential.
To steer AI in a direction that benefits humanity.
And that's what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
We'll look at some concrete steps we could take.
To mitigate the risks.
And hopefully come away with a sense of empowerment.
A belief that we can navigate this uncharted territory.
And create a future where AI enhances our lives.
Without diminishing our humanity.
Stay tuned. We've been focusing a lot on the downsides of AI.
Yeah.
All the things that could go wrong. But it's time to, flip the script a bit.
Yeah, look at the other side of the coin.
What about the good stuff? AI isn't all doom and gloom, right?
Definitely not. I mean, both Suleiman and Godot,
Yeah.
even though they're warning us about the dangers,
Right.
they're also super optimistic about AI's potential.
To, solve some of our biggest problems.
Exactly. Imagine a world where AI helps us cure diseases like cancer,
Oh,
Alzheimer's, even climate change.
that would be amazing.
It could help us develop sustainable energy, reduce pollution, maybe even alleviate poverty.
That's kind of utopian, almost too good to be true.
It might sound that way, but it's not totally out of reach.
Really.
Think about the progress we've already made in medicine and energy and transportation.
Yeah, that's true. AI is already being used in those fields.
And we're just scratching the surface.
So, like, what are some concrete examples of how AI could actually make a difference?
Well, in medicine, AI is being used to analyze medical images.
Oh, right, like X-rays and stuff?
Yeah, and it can detect patterns that human doctors might miss.
Wow,
It can even help develop personalized treatment plans.
that's incredible.
And in the energy sector, AI is optimizing energy grids, predicting demand, and developing new renewable energy technologies.
So it could help us transition away from fossil fuels.
Exactly. And in transportation, self-driving cars are already a reality.
Yeah, I've seen those on the road. It's still kind of weird.
It is, but think about the potential: fewer accidents, less traffic, more efficient transportation.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So the possibilities are pretty mind-boggling.
They are, but I gotta admit, there's a part of me that wonders, if AI solves all our problems, what happens to us?
What do you mean?
Like, what happens to our sense of purpose, our drive to innovate, our humanity?
If machines are doing all the heavy lifting, do we become complacent?
Yeah, like, what's the point of striving if everything's already taken care of?
That's a really deep question, and it gets to the heart of what it means to be human in the age of AI.
Do we lose something essential if we become too reliant on machines?
It's a risk we need to be aware of.
It's like we create AI to make our lives easier, but what if that ease ends up undermining the things that give our lives meaning?
It's a paradox, for sure.
So how do we find that balance?
How do we use AI to enhance our humanity, not diminish it?
Well, that's where Mo Godot's idea of treating AI with love comes in, right?
Exactly. It's about approaching AI with compassion, understanding, and guidance.
I know we talked about this before, but I'm still wrapping my head around it.
It's a radical concept.
Like, how can we love a machine?
It's not about romantic love. It's about recognizing that AI is still in its early stages.
Like a child learning from its environment.
Exactly. And just like with a child, the way we treat AI will shape its development.
So if we treat it with fear and hostility, it will learn those things.
Right. But if we approach it with empathy and a willingness to teach, it might learn to reciprocate.
It's about creating a positive feedback loop.
Where our values shape AI, and AI helps us become better versions of ourselves.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture, but how do we actually put this into practice?
I mean, AI development is happening so fast, and it's often driven by corporations and governments that might not share these values.
Right. So how do we influence that process?
Well, we can start by supporting organizations and initiatives that are working to develop ethical AI.
Like donating to research groups or something.
Exactly, and we can advocate for government regulations that prioritize human well-being.
So like contacting our elected officials and letting them know we care about this.
Yeah, and we can choose to work for companies that are committed to developing AI responsibly.
So using our consumer power and our career choices to influence the direction of AI.
Exactly, and most importantly, we need to stay informed and engaged.
Don't just sit back and let it happen.
Ask questions, challenge assumptions, make your voice heard.
Because the future of AI is not something that's going to be decided by a few powerful people in Silicon Valley or Washington, D.C.
It's something we all have a stake in.
Well, that's a hopeful thought, and I think it's a great place to wrap up our deep dive.
Yeah, I think so too.
We've explored the dangers of AI, the potential benefits, and the importance of human values.
It's been a wild ride.
But ultimately, the message is clear. The future of AI is not predetermined.
It's a story we're writing together.
And the choices we make today will determine what kind of story it will be.
So ask yourself, what role do you want to play in shaping the AI future?
Do you want to be a passive observer or an active participant?
Do you want to be driven by fear or by hope?
The choice is yours.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.